Good day, and welcome to another Mr. Kilroy presentation on behalf of the Freedom Pages. Oh, the RCMP's at it again. Those fine men in the red serge are busy at it, reclassifying firearms. Of course, all of this has been very adequately covered by Sun Media v's Mr. LORNE GUNTER. The High River smash and grab was not enough for the RCMP. The boys in the head office, not wanting to be outdone, decided that they would reclassify some very expensive firearms and put them in the prohibited category. Now, these firearms were not restricted at all. Anybody with a firearms license could own them, and a couple of $3,000. That isn't chump change. That is expensive pieces of equipment, and probably why you're not finding them in the hands of your terrorists nor local street gangs. Along with it was the CZ585, a long-barreled version of its shorter-barreled version, to be facetious. Again, non-restricted. All of a sudden, now, today, prohibited. To their credit, the government has implemented a 2-year amnesty for all owners of these firearms, which is a good thing. However, that 2-year amnesty is only good if they fix the problem. Unfortunately, the problem is the Firearms Control Scheme. That is the Firearms Act. I, for one, am an advocate for the complete abolition of the Firearms Act. There should be no gun control whatsoever in Canada, save by that of which is imposed by the courts of law, with fundamental justice at its core. And to elaborate on fundamental justice, that is to say that due process is respected, is the order of the day. I have no problem with a convicted criminal being prohibited from owning firearms. Now, let me elaborate a little further and say violent criminal. I'm not saying that somebody that was arrested for paper fraud should be under a prohibition order. Armed robbery, rape, murder, assault, by all means. Assault with the intent to do bodily harm, absolutely. Other than that, there should be little, if any, gun control in Canada. And the reason I say that is because we, as Canadians, have a constitutional right to do so. I have outlined this in several videos. I need not belabor this point. I've even explained how this right came into being into our Constitution. However, I'm also realistic enough to believe that a complete abolition of gun control in Canada is not going to happen, any more than a complete abolition of liquor control in Canada is not going to happen. However, if there is to be any sort of legislation in place, the Firearms Control Act should first and foremost respect the Constitution, and yes, even go so far as to uphold the Constitution. For the non-firearms owning public, I would like to be very, very clear. This isn't about somebody's hobby or pastime. This is about an enshrined right. And while regulation is not exactly something that I want or we want as a general rule, we do realize that there will be some regulation involved. All we're asking is that this regulation be fair. The current system is not fair. It puts the entire process in the hands of bureaucrats, as is evident with the gun-grabbing RCMP. The High River smash and grab was a prime example of the RCMP exercising its authority under the Firearms Act. And all I am saying to my fellow Canadians who do not own firearms is to consider this, is that we all have to stand up together for every right that we own, every right that we possess, even the ones we disagree with. For those that believe that only the police and the military should have firearms, I would say this to you is, given the protests of the G8 in Toronto a few summers ago, yes, there was a great deal of lawlessness, but there was also a great deal of lawlessness on both sides of the fence, as it were. The police acted beyond their authority. The police did things that were wrong. Now, are you saying that these people should be the only ones allowed to use force? I'm not saying that there should have been an armed insurrection that day. I'm not saying there should have been armed resistance to the police. What I am saying is that is a prime example of what happens when the use of force is solely placed in the hands of a government agency. There's abuse of process and abuse of authority. It is that old axiom, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I would say that without this right, all of your other rights are just words on paper. And what's that Game of Thrones favorite saying? Words are wind. My appeal is to everyone to write Parliament, write the Prime Minister, write Mr. Blaney, write everybody, even the opposition MPs, if you happen to live in their riding, and tell them, stop, repeal the Firearms Act, start over again. Simple words, that's all you need to say. I will provide all of the information. I will provide links to the original stories, all in the low bar below. And for the Freedom pages, this is Mr. Kilroy saying, good day everybody, have a wonderful one.